Hey everyone, my name is the African Dream, or just Lance. I am a Swain mid, full OTP, playing in the EWest server. I was able to hit Challenger 3 times this year. Most recently, I was able to hit my peak last week at about 1044 LP. And I just thought that today I would share a couple of tips and tricks that I use to get to Challenger by just playing Swain. So one of the questions I've gotten from one of my Twitch viewers is that they're a little bit unsure of Swain's positioning. I'd like to address that right now. So a good way to think of Swain mid is like a Galio. They both have the ability to flex support their team, be the frontline peel for the team, and being a frontline damage. Right? They can do both of those simultaneously. So Swain's positioning in fights, you want to try to be a mix that you peel for your ADC and do damage to the enemy frontline at the exact same time. So a situation like this would be perfect. You always want to keep the distance from the center to the end of your ulti range, right? The radius. That's the distance you want to keep at all times. So right here is the perfect distance. If let's say this person moves backwards, I need to follow them and keep that distance. If they move towards us, I need to fall back. Always keep that distance. At this distance, you can kite nearly any melee champion in the game, and you're able to kill a lot of melee champions as Swain because of your ulti radius, you're able to kite them a lot easier. But let's say this is a ranged champion, right? Usually it doesn't really matter. It's still a good practice. Let's say you want to dodge some of the skill shots like an Ezreal. It's still probably good to keep a distance like this and just try to give you some room so you can dodge some skill shots. But in a team fight, it can change a little bit. You have two options in a team fight, all depending on how strong the enemy AD carry is compared to your AD carry. If you have an AD carry, or let's say you have a very strong AP carry or something like that, right? You want to always try and peel for them in a fight. Peel for them by taking off any enemy that's trying to get on top of them. So if they have somebody who's diving onto my backline, I need to stand right here and peel for my ADC. But let's say the enemy ADC is extremely fed, and we have a good front line engaged to get on top of them. In that situation, we can try and burst them straight away. It is very risky, because if you don't end up bursting them, you probably will die very quickly. But this is the top position you want to have in a team fight. You always want to keep your ulti at the maximum radius. You never want to walk too close or fall too far back so your ulti starts running out. Always try keep this distance. This way you're able to heal a lot more because you won't be taking as much damage, so your healing will have a better effect on you. And allows you to do consistent damage and reposition team fights to hit some more high priority targets. If you are interested about any of the matchups that I'm about to show you, there is a link in the description which takes you to this Google Documents sheet. This sheet is the Swain sheet I have made that details the current build I'm going, the current runes, and all the matchups rated from good to bad. Also gives you a little bit of insight and advice into certain matchups to try and help you if you're not familiar with certain matchups. But this sheet is available anytime you want. All you need to do is click that link and you'll be right there. I'd like to show you an example of an early game versus a Z. So this is going to be initially focused on the early mid game versus a Z. So in a Z matchup, you always want to start your Q. The reason being is your Q is extremely hard to dodge, so you're always reliably able to hit it in lane, right? So the first thing you want to notice here is that I do not hit the minions as soon as they spawn. As you can see, I only try to last hit the minions or Q them as they're about to die. I want to focus on auto attacking him. You walk up, you get auto attacks. In this matchup, I did take Airy, trying to poke him out as early as possible, which is a nice page versus a Z because this is a lane that you can easily win. Now, I'm trying to keep Z at bay. Every time he walks up to Q a minion, I want to walk him and try to Q him. Like right now, where I'm standing in front of my minion wave. Because I know that every Q he throws at me, he's missing a minion with. So every time he tries to walk up, free E into a Q, auto attack. And look at his HP. He has no way to play the lane. And he is not doing anything he shouldn't, right? All he's doing is trying to survive this lane. But Swain is such a strong laner at this stage versus matchups like Z. Every time he walks up, throw a Q, throw an E, throw an auto attack, right? Damage, they can't really dodge. Your E is the only thing the enemy can dodge. They can't dodge your Q, they can't dodge your auto attack. So every time you walk up and you try to damage them, they have to fall back even more, right? You make them want to miss CS. The reason being CS gives you so much gold, so much XP, right? At very high levels of play, getting any sort of item advantage makes the difference. So trying to put your laner behind, especially as Z, right? Z is a very good scaling champion. He gets a lot of ability as late into the match. So the more you can put him behind early, the more window of opportunity you have as Swain. So that's all you want to do in this matchup, is just try and poke him as much as possible. So this video is of a stream that happened last week, and it's a matchup against a LeBlanc. So let's flip the coin and go to the different spectrum of the early game. Now, a LeBlanc matchup in the sheet, you can go and check, is a very rough matchup. She's a very abusive to Swain. It's very hard for Swain ever to hit his E onto her because she's so mobile. So this is a lane that you'll always end up losing, but there's awesome stuff you can do to try and survive this lane. So one of the things you've noticed that we've done here, we took D shield. Right, Doran's shield gives you a lot of survivability if you know you're going to struggle in that matchup. Good against LeBlanc, good against Cassiopeia, any poke or burst lane that you take a lot of damage in, Zeroth, Vel'Koz, etc. Victor, Syndra, all of that stuff, right? So as you see in this lane, I'm only trying to last my minions, but also trying to play as far back as possible. LeBlanc, the way LeBlanc's positioning, she's in the front of a wave, walking back and forth. All she's going to try to do here is get level 2 and try and engage on me and poke me down, right? She's going to do about 3 combos, and then she'll kill me. Or if she has Ignite. Right, so you got to be very careful when you face certain matchups like this. So the goal here is to survive as much as possible. We did take second wind, which helps deal with LeBlanc's burst, but Doran should also give us some more survivability. Again, we don't want to use too many abilities in this matchup, and we have D shield, so we don't have the mana from Doran's ring that we would have had. So the goal here is just to auto attack, to last at every minion we can, and then play as close to the tower as possible. The worst situation for us right now is LeBlanc shoving in this huge wave that she's building up. As you can see, her wave starting to build up. Whenever you slow push a wave, right, your wave will always start to push up, but the enemy team can't contest, right? She's going to eventually shove a huge wave. I think this is a 2 waves stacking right now, plus a third one coming in. If she shoves this and I'm not able to clear in time, eventually my minions will start to group up, right? Because there'll be a wave surviving, then a wave surviving, then it will start to push towards her. The problem with that is she ends up setting up a freeze onto me on her side of the lane, so I have to walk up so far in the lane just to try and CS. As you can see, I'm struggling to clear this entire wave at the moment. But the goal here is to clear the wave as soon as possible, because if you do not clear this wave in time, as you can see, your minions stop right here, right? So the enemy minion wave actually comes to your tower, it dies to your tower, and your minions survive. When your minions survive, it starts pushing towards them, and eventually the wave will end on their side of the map, and that's the worst situation you could be in, because you're open for ganks. If the enemy jungler tries to kill you mid, and LeBlanc can easily burst you and kill you. But in this situation, an early gank, an early jungle fight is not the best thing for you. But there's not much you can do in this matchup. It's very important to understand that certain matchups, Swain definitely struggles in. Any poke heavy matchup that you can't win, you have to try and survive until we get Lost Chapter. Your Lost Chapter is your main goal when you're laning. You want to get Lost Chapter as soon as possible, because that gives you your mana that you need to roam, and also gives you the mana that you need to shove out the wave and be able to take good roams from that. Now, the mid game with Swain is what I would consider to be when you have your 2 items, right? When you have these 3 sets of items, when you have your 2 main items being Leandris and Rylai's, and you have your boots of choice, which I usually go Sork boots. This to me is when Swain hits his strongest in the game, right? These 2 items are so incredibly strong with Swain's ulti, allows you to kite easier, plus get consistent damage. Now this is when you want to try and end the game, right? This will usually be around, you can get around 18 to 20 minutes, somewhere around there. That 20 to 25 minute mark is your window of opportunity to try and end the game. This is when Swain to me is the strongest. This is when you have to keep on playing every objective, trying every fight. When you're playing Swain at this point in the mid game, you never want to try and side lane. The reason being is, although you are very strong, there's a good chance that other champions, proper split pushers like Fioras and Chases and Gnar and champions like that, who are made for split pushing for 1v1s in the side, will probably beat you. Swain was not made to be a 1v1 champion. Swain was made to be a team fighting AoE monster. So, ideally on a side lane, all you want to do is go to a side lane for a few seconds, clear out the wave as soon as possible, and instantly walk back to the team, right? If your team's pushing mid to ADC, instantly walk back, try and hover. If nothing's happening after a few seconds, wait here. As soon as the wave pushes back top, walk back top lane, try to clear this wave again, and just rinse and repeat. The reason you do this is that you're not trying to fight on the side, you're not trying to push on the side, but you want to make sure you get as much gold as possible. Again, just keep walking down, try to be with the team. If a fight happens, you're so close already. Let's say you have Ghost or something, or you're already here, you walk in, you try and fight, and you do Baron. That is how you want to play Swain's mid game. Don't look to side lane. You'll probably get beaten in the 1v1, but in team fights you are an absolute monster, and with these 2 items you probably are one of the strongest team fighting champions at that time in the game. And you can solo carry an entire fight if you hit one good E onto a front line. Let's say it has gone past your 20 to 25 minute threshold, the window that you want to end the game at, and now it's going 30 plus minutes, right? That's just what I consider to be late game. Although these items look very good on Swain, and they are, but the problem is when you get to this stage on Swain, right? Swain has a lot of damage, but also a lot of tankiness. The issue with the tankiness is that you definitely start to fall off past the 25-minute mark. The reason being enemy ADCs get their Lord Dominic's regards, right? They get their pen items. Mid laners get their void staffs. Every champion gets their pen item, and they're able to shred tanks at that stage. All tanks will suffer from this, and Swain is filled in with those. Because you don't have the best AP ratios in the game, you don't scale as well as other mid laners. So that is why another reason why you want to try end the game as soon as possible mid, right? Because you will definitely get outscaled by Syndras and Victors, and majority of mid laners, even champions like Zeds and Kianas, you'll be outscaled by. But in the late game, it is not too condensed. All you want to do in the late game is try to team fight as much as possible, right? The enemy ADC will shred you, try if your Zhonya's ready, and try to be the frontline tank for your ADC, right? If you get to that point where you can't consistently survive in fights, you have to peel for your ADC. Make sure your ADC can do as much as possible. Try to transition to a more supportive role. Look, if you hit one good E onto the enemy ADC or enemy mid lane and you're able to burst them, then go for it, right? But consistently, if the enemy team is playing very well, it's hard for you to survive long enough to get that close to somebody. So always try and look to team fight. Never side lane in the late game. Fioras will always kill you. Scions will kill you. Any split pushing champion will beat you easily in the 1v1 with proper items. Your tag arms will slowly fall off about then. So always look to team fights. Stick with your ADC. Try and peel for him and make sure he's safe in fights. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video for today. It's a decently short video, but I wanted to get just a few aspects and certain questions that some people have asked me in the past. I'd like to just cover them quickly in this video, so I hope there was something of value in here somewhere. But that's going to be it for me for today. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.